Before I go too much into this topic, I'd like to clear some main points first about this. First off, since there are plenty of videos talking about sound quality with comparing colored records to black records, I'll just say in most things short, but this is also in my own experience and from people that I've talked to, and that is that black records will always be the best for sound quality than colored records. And it makes sense because colored records are made of a lot more cheaper and recycled materials than what goes into black records. But now that's been briefly discussed, let's get into my opinion of colored records. Colored records, regardless of their sound quality, have always been an awesome thing to have, and I think everyone would agree on me with this. Maybe. Having a colored record is definitely something that gives the album a nice, premium experience, not only just from listening to it, but looking at and owning. And if it's especially rare and goes for a lot of money, then you'll appreciate owning it more over time. My personal favorite kinds of colored records are translucent records, splatters, and clear records especially. Not only do I find clear records to have an amazing sound quality, but they look fantastic on their own. Alright, now let's get into sound quality with colored records, since it's probably what everyone wants to hear. In my opinion, colored records are a mixed bag when it comes to sound quality, but luckily it's mostly positives. It's quite uncommon for me to come across a bad sounding colored record, but of course there are plenty out there. But most of the time there are ones that are made a long time ago with not great materials and overall just are not great from the get-go. Not to say that there are no bad ones nowadays, but I digress. There aren't really many colored records, if not at all, that I own that sound bad, since, well, why would I? Most of the time I do my research before I buy, so I normally know what sounds good and what doesn't, but there have been times that I've been surprised with sound quality that is just straight up disappointing, like this Catatonia 3 LP. I found this one to just sound very flat and not very dynamic at all. In fact, the first tracks, which were from the Fall of Hearts bonus tracks, sounded extremely compressed compared to everything else, but that's not really the record's fault. Actually, now that I think about it, all of the records I've owned and listened to that personally don't have great sound quality have been white records, so maybe try to avoid white records. Let's talk about the positives in sound quality. My favorite variants of colored records, down to just how they look and mainly sound quality, have got to be clear or translucent splatters. I have a few of them, and my favorites are Carcass's Torn Arteries Blood Splatter variant and Pliny's Impulse Voices Blue and Pink Splatter. They both sound beautiful and clear. In fact, I found these albums to sound better than some of my black records in terms of sound, which is just funny. So yeah, overall colored records sound, although not the best, they still sound pretty good and clear if you find the right one, and rarely will you find one that just sounds terrible that everyone has not already talked about, since most of the time people will have talked about a record a lot if it sounds really bad. So yeah, always do your research because it can save you so much money and time.